Well, let's talk mental health. So this came from somebody actually in the Discord, and it was talking about expect the unexpected. Things will go wrong. Not everything is going to go to plan, but step back and evaluate the situation and press on, short and sweet. And then another member said things will take longer than you think. And I think the reason we picked that, number one, because I thought it was cool, but two, I mean, how many times as fighter pilots or pilots, military pilots, civilian pilots, whatever, do no plan survives first contact with the enemy, Gonky?
Nope, no quotes of me.
Mike Tyson there. But how many times does the plan just not work? Or, you have to adapt your plan, or some new variable shows up and you have to go, okay, I understand that, but we're going to still stick to the plan. So it's taking that step back and evaluating. And I think in life, we end up in these situations where we get this myopic view that the plan has to work exactly as we thought in the timeline that we thought. But in real life, it's not our timeline. We are not the ones that get to determine that. And some things take a while to work out, and it's not how we thought. So, especially when you're going through stuff, I went through a lot of stuff in the last couple of years, and, in the zoomed in view, which we talked about last week, you think, well, it's not working out now. It's never going to work out. But then 2 years later, you're looking at it going, well, that was just a blip on the radar. And now things have actually started working out. And I can't believe, it was that bad. You kind of forget, but the scars are always going to be there. So we always talk about, using your resources, use your friends, use your wingman. Tim, you've got a great resource, and I'll let you talk about that when you get to it. But use the resources you have available to kind of remind yourself to stay on top, stay on timeline, stay on plan, be patient, and let the picture settle. 988 is a good reference here in the U.S. If you're actually thinking about hurting yourself. Military One Source, chaplains, even if you have to call 911, just don't take a temporary problem and have a permanent solution to it and take your own life. So, Gonky, what do you think, man?
Yeah, when you first sent this to me, expect the unexpected, what my first thought that came to mind was, you should always, like in the military, right? We're always striving to be at a certain level of readiness, always ready, right? It's like, hey, if we call you tomorrow, you're ready. What does that mean in life? And from a mental health point of view, to me, being ready is, being, physically fit, spiritual, and your mental health squared away. Good church, good family, good friends, surround yourself with good people. I just think the stronger that, I guess those would be your core things, would be physical, mental, spiritual, at least to me. The better you're going to be able to handle the unexpected, because there's no way to plan for everything that's going to happen to you, whether you're flying a fighter jet on a mission or in life in general. And I just think that's the best defense against that. But yeah, Mover, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. Tim, what do you think?
Well, my father was a traffic officer in the British police force, and he was an accident investigator as well. And he always said to me, death is what happens to you on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. You don't get someone knocking at your door telling you your wife's died on a Saturday afternoon when you're prepared for it. All right. You get a police officer knocking your door. It's raining. It's Tuesday. You're scrabbling around the house doing something else. And then someone tells you that your wife's been killed in a road accident. So I wrote an essay about that on Fast Jet Performance, and it was called Death on the Roads. Something like life is what happens on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, something like that. You know what I mean? But the preparedness that we talk about, and I'm very much into spiritual. I mean, I'm a Catholic man, right? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are quite embarrassed about talking about the faith, but I was a Catholic man all the way through, and I went and flew jets for a while. And I've come back in, leaning back into that faith now, because I think there's something about the community, or something about bigger than ourselves, that we can lean into. And if that means that having a bit of faith somewhere just means that you think, you know what, I'm going to go and hit the gym, or I'm just going to treat myself a bit better because maybe I need to be representing for people around me, if that makes sense. I need to just be showing that I'm willing to do the sacrificial work and the hardship. I mean, I went through obviously the alcohol, the suicidal ideation when I left the military. I've spoken all about this kind of stuff. And I went through that. So I do talk about it because it helps. I run a course for that now as well for guys. I don't talk about the course too much, but I do run the course for guys, and I run the school. So the preparedness, I think you're absolutely right. How do we do that? I hit the gym every morning. I don't want to. I don't want to be in the gym, but I have a gym in my house. I go out there for an hour and a half every morning, listen to a podcast. I'm not a music guy. I sometimes listen to nothing at all. All right. Vitamin iron. Just lift something up. Throw yourself on the floor. You can't be sad when you think you're going to be sick through exercise. There's just something about it.
Valid.
And we hate it, don't we? But you know
Yeah.
what? When you're at that point where you don't want to do anything else, and it's hard when you're not in that correct headspace to go and do something purpose. I always talk about fitness, finance, family, and I add fuel onto that. And what I'm talking about fuel is actually making sure not only are we watching the right things, like this great podcast here, but also that we are taking in the correct nutrition, because of course it just, we are what we eat. So if you're stuffing bad food into yourself the whole time, alcohol, like I was for many, many years until about 18 months ago, the perspective you have and the resilience you have is going to be very different than if you treat yourself properly. That's how I think about it.
Awesome. Doug?
Usual disclaimers apply. I'm fourth in the list.
Clean it up, man. You always do.
I've got a phrase that I used to use a lot, and my wife reminded me of it recently. That the phrase is "relax, nothing is under control." It teaches you to let go of expectations, and at some level, expectations are pretty much a guarantee for disappointment. And nothing is ever going to go the way you expected, even whether it's good or bad. And you guys have really kind of hit the major points. This is going to sound sort of like a summary. Just plan for what you can control, know what your competencies are, train the competencies. But when the time comes, you just have to have the confidence to realize you can handle this in the moment. And you may not have prepared for the exact scenario that you're going through, but like Tim said, if everything else is solid, you're going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Tim. It's always hits home, man. It hits home. And then I think the fact that you're doing stuff for mental health, Tim, is awesome. I think that's great that you're able to share what you've learned and experienced, and kind of combine two of your passions, jets and that. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, and you're still teaching, which is cool.
Yeah, teaching is pretty cool. I quite like that. I was trying to work out a passion for aviation. For me, it's an education, which sounds really weird. I get educated from my guys as well. With that kind of teaching about mental health, one of the things I don't really do is talk too much about mental health. And the reason I do that is because the more we talk about it, the more people, it's like if you tell someone they're an idiot enough times, they kind of believe it. And so we do that. Unfortunately, in our country, we do that with young white men. We tell them that they're worth nothing. We tell them they're far right. And now these young men, they believe they're violent. They believe they're far right. They believe they can't achieve anything, and they never go to university. And of course, they have these horrible lives because our government tells these young men that they're far right, and they tell them that they're worth nothing. So I'm very careful with when we talk about mental health. I talk about mental wealth, if we can use a phrase. I talk about that resilience that you guys are covering here, and I talk about like nobody's coming to save you. All right. As much as we want to help you, no one's coming to save you. You know how it is when you're in a single cockpit. There's no one else there. What's the first? You have an emergency. Well, you can speak to air traffic. What are they going to do? I'm not going to speak to air traffic. I might let them know I'm ejecting if I feel generous, and I'm going to drop. I'm going to drop. I'm going to drop it on an orphanage or maybe a nunnery. I might tell them. You know what I mean? Let them know. I'm not going to speak to air traffic. They get in my cockpit and comms jam my brain. I'm not going to do it. So again, we just got to be careful how we kind of communicate this a little bit, because you can be your own savior. The unknown unknowns are always going to be out there. There are things we don't know, we don't even know. They're going to hit you, right? So what is the best thing to do? I say this 1,000 times. I'll let you guys go. I know you're going to shut me off. It's fine. I understand that. I could talk forever. When times get really difficult, go and find a car park. If busier, the better. I couldn't care less. More people in the car park, the better. If it's raining, even better. If it's raining, all right? And just take your top off and do burpees until you cry. Just do burpees until you can't do anymore. All right, you'll feel a lot better. Everyone will laugh at you. Everyone's going to tell you you're a dick. Everyone's going to, what's that guy doing over there? They're going to laugh at him. There is going to be a man that walks past you wishing he was doing what you're doing. And every man will appreciate what you're doing. They'll be like, fuck me, that guy's in jeans doing burpees in a car park in the rain. Because that man's trying to find himself again, and it works. Yeah. I'm a big fan. It works. It really does work. Okay. Because we're really connecting with ourselves in a very body, spiritual and a physical way. The brain doesn't lead us, but the body really does. And I believe that. And that's the kind of stuff I teach. So.